Hello, my name's Lee and welcome to the Cold War Prepper. So today I wanted to have a quick discussion about you don't have enough first aid, in my opinion. If we go through just a standard SHTF scenario, I think a lot of it's going to be exactly like what you see happening in camping trips. So when a family goes out to camp, what are the emergency room treatments that happen most commonly? And so what we've discovered is that the number one thing you need to be prepared for after SHTF are burns. People are going to be cooking outdoors with fires, a lot more candle usage, a lot more different things that involve flame and fire. So make sure you're prepared for burns. The second most common camping injury is going to be cuts, abrasions, and splinters. So make sure you have a good first aid kit to stop bleeding, to pack the wound, etc. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in detail. Number three is stings. I'm going to kind of lump the next three into one, and that is sprains, strains, and bone breaks are the next most common. Then, of course, there's disease that's caused from improper cooking, bad water, improper hygiene while you're out in the field. I think those are going to probably be an SHTF situation as well. And but I'm going to talk about disease in a future video. So let's talk basically first about about first aid. I'm so old that when I was taught first aid, it was ABC: clear the airways, stop the bleeding, and control for shock. That has changed recently, and so now what they're saying is clear the airway, make sure that they're breathing, and then make sure that there's circulation. So that's basically the beginning of CPR. And although I agree with that, I also think that there's something to be said for make sure you control for shock as well. So elevating the feet if you don't have injuries that have to be elevated above the heart, but get the feet up so that you have circulation to the heart and keep the person warm. But let's go back and talk first about wound care. So one of the first things you want to do is you want to clean the wound as soon as possible. So there's all kinds of fantastic sterile washes that are out on the market that you can get to wash the wound. If you can't get that, then what I've got is we went and got this nasal syringe. So this is basically you inject saline up into your nose to clear your sinuses, and you can use that with distilled water to clean the wound as well. Probably not as good as sterile saline, but that'll work. Make sure you're wearing gloves. One of the things you want to check on to make sure this little comment down here, latex free. We have a family member who's allergic to latex, and so you might want to do that. Let me take my necklace off. I'm going to show you something else. Make sure when you're treating somebody, you ask them if they have any allergies. For example, I do have a metalert on my necklace, and it lets them know that I am allergic to azithromycin, the Z-Pak. I'm allergic to formoterol and formaldehyde, which are the most common preservatives in most medications. And so I found out because I had a rash on the back of my hand from sleeping on the couch one night, and I went to Walmart and bought the Quate version of Benadryl, rubbed it on my hand and made it worse because that has formoterol as a preservative, so it just made it worse. But now let's talk about sealing the wounds. So one of the things, or stopping the bleeding, you can use a clotting sponge, but man, those things burn like all get out. Use that as a last resort. We do have a puncture wound to the chest. This is the only time I'll use the word literal, but this is for sucking chest wounds, and that's a literal translation, not a figurative. I think literal is one of the most overused words in the English language nowadays. We want to pack the wound to make sure that we have gauze in there to stop the bleeding if it's a big open cut. One of the things, I don't care that much for suturing, although I do have a suture kit, and I also have a staple kit, but I prefer to use Steri-Strips, which are basically small pieces of tape to use to close the wound. Now remember, you only close a wound if the length of the wound is greater than the depth. If it's a really deep one, you don't want to close it because you need for it to heal from the inside out. Then let me see what else. We've got the 2-inch, the 4-inch, the 4-inch and the 6-inch Israeli bandages. I'll put a link on how to use those in the comments below. I've also got an 8-inch and I've got a chest wound, so that once you put this chest seal over a sucking chest wound than there is an Israeli bandage that's made to cover that, to keep pressure on it. One of the other things, and you need to be cautious about this, I have two different kinds of tourniquets. This is the RATS, and then this is the SWAT T. I'm going to put links on both of those as well in the description below on how to use them. This is a staged tourniquet, so this is what I keep open in my personal first aid kit because you don't want to waste time. If somebody's bleeding to death, they can, or bleeding, especially with an arterial wound that you want to stop, you don't want to spend precious time opening a package to get to the tourniquet. You want it pre-staged, ready to go, and all you have to do is put it on there. Make sure you have some good alcohol wipes or moist towelettes, whatever, to also clean the wound. Let me see, and then we have another Mepiplex border bandage. So that kind of takes care of taking care of bleeding. Removal of splinters, I have this nice biology kit, which is fantastic. It's got some great forceps in it, and so you can use those as well as a little probe. So you can use that to get the splinters out. Make sure you cover that. One of the things we want to make sure we also do is take care of any infections. So we're going to, after we get that wound cleaned, before we put the bandage on, we're going to take care of antibacterial applications with either polysporin or some sort of wipe. We also want to make sure that we can have providone iodine swab sticks, so we can use those to prevent infection as well. Going on to sprains, strains, and breaks. Oh gosh, I don't think I brought one out. One of the best things for that is you don't have enough triangular bandages. I've probably got 20 triangular bandages, and I think that's probably one of the most versatile bandages you're going to have. You can use those for ankles, wrist, a sling, cervical, a collarbone fracture. There's so many applications of it, it's pitiful. But make sure you get plenty of triangular bandages. This is the SPLINT. I'm going to link videos for this in the down below as well. The two different kinds. It comes flat with the Coflex so that you can attach it, and then it also comes rolled, so you can get either one. This is probably better for you because it does have the Coflex right there with it, so you can apply it and everything else. The really nice thing about the SPLINT is in the videos, they also have instructions on how you can use it for a cervical collar and how you can use it for a pelvic injury. So, gosh, I wish I'd known about that pelvic injury a couple years ago. That would have really come in handy for me on an accident I came across. So that's pretty much that. So as far as first aid kits, I have several. I've got the one from My Medic, their IFAC. This is the one that I carry with me all the time. This is in my EDC. So this is from Echo Sigma. I added the extra external pouch that has the shears, the flashlight for pupillary response, and everything else. This little green box is what I originally built back in 1972 for my vehicle first aid kit. This is a combat medic kit, and then this is the Special Forces medics kit. So I believe you can get both of those on Amazon. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe so. And then finally, one of the other things that we want to talk about. No, there's two other things. I've got a combination stretcher / body bag. So you can use this. It's got 8 handles on it. You can use it to move an injured person to a safe location, and if they expire, then you can put them inside, and you're going to be able to keep that from putrefying the area until you get a chance to dispose of the body correctly. Burns, make sure that you understand the difference between first, second, and third degree burns. Do not pop blisters on burns. One of the things you might want to have is some burn gel. Hydration is going to be one of the most important things there is. So keep the wound hydrated and keep the person hydrated. Make sure you give them something internally to replace all those electrolytes they're going to lose because of the burning. Make sure you stop the burning before you do anything else. So usually that's going to be, if it's electrical, move them away from the electrical conduit or whatever the case might be. If it's anything else, stop the burning. And you can do that. Remember, kind of like with a steak, when you put it on the stove and it cooks and then you take it off, it still has that residual heat inside and it keeps cooking for a while, and that's why you let it rest. Well, we want to stop that in human skin. So you want to put it in some sort of water, cool it with something. That's where this wound wash really comes in good. That's going to be ambient temperature, and that's going to stop that that burning while you're washing it. And then you're going to put on some sort of a cream to stop the infection. Do not pop any blisters. They will serve a protective layer on that skin. And then that's where you're also going to use this, Telfa type pads that don't adhere to the skin or to the wound, and you can be able to get rid of those. I'm going to put some links down below for some fantastic training in first aid. And if you're going to, these are absolutely essential. Dr. Bones and Nurse Amy, that's Joseph Alton, MD, and Amy Alton, who is an advanced registered nurse practitioner, I put out the Survival Medicine Handbook. That is a must-have. If you don't have anything else, get this for the knowledge. And then number two, there's the American College of Emergency Physicians puts out their first aid manual. So these two books are essential for your kit, and make sure you have it so that you can study it ahead of time. I'm going to put down some trainings down below. Of course, I am a member of CERT. So CERT is the Community Emergency Response Team, and that's headed up by FEMA. They will give you free training. One of the best trainings I ever had was Stop the Bleed with CERT, and they had dummies come in, and we actually had to feel inside the dummies for the bleeding artery and press it with our finger to stop the bleeding, and then pack it with the wound pack kit, which is this one here basically, and that's only $1.25 at the dollar store. But just outstanding training. Make sure you understand once you put a tourniquet on, only a physician can take it off. And with that, I hope that's got you enough ideas on what you need to get for your first aid kit. And I'm not going to cover disease in this one. I'm also not going to cover gunshot wounds. I'm going to leave gunshot wounds and those kinds of trauma to other people who can talk to that. If it's a really true SHTF situation, I'm not going to put a tourniquet on because you have to have a physician to remove it, and I'm probably not going to do too much for some major gunshot wounds because I'm just not qualified to do that. I can put a bandage on it and maybe stop some external bleeding, but internal bleeding and stuff like that, I'm not going to mess with it. But hope it gives you some good ideas. Hey, listen, if you get a chance, there's a couple of friends of mine that have some really good channels. Off the Wall Prepper and Texas Redleg do some really good stuff, so visit their channels. I also really like the Warrior Poet Society. He has a really good link I'm going to put down below, a really good video on the application of different tourniquets. So, have a great day. Let's all survive together. Take care.